Are you guys ready? They're all. The regular meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, May 8th will be called to order at 6 p.m. At this time, would everyone willing and able please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Buckley. Alderman Tierney.
Present.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Present.
Alderman Finell.
Present.
Alderman Finlayson.
Present.
Alderman Chandler Meyer. Alderman Gay. Alderman Savage.
Present.
Alderman Arnett. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is business and miscellaneous, beginning with ID 9723, proposed closed session pursuant to Annotated Code of Maryland General Provisions Article, Section 3-305B7. Discussion topic, Annapolis United Program.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to move pursuant to the Annotated Code of Maryland General Provisions Article 3-305B7 to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there possible discussion?
Good evening.
I'm good.
When I came in, there was no one downstairs, so it was the city elders.
Okay.
That can't happen fast enough.
It is. Hillary.
Sheila, Sheila, she doesn't hear me. I was just gonna tell her, we need all the help we can get. She can do it twice. What is she doing here again?
Welcome, everybody. We have just finished a closed session, so we're going to go into open session now. Whenever you can, please take your seats and join us for the invocation given by Alderman Finlayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please bow your heads as I pray. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings bestowed on our city. Lord, I ask this evening for special blessings for the wife of our colleague. Give her the strength to overcome the health challenges she faces. I pray that you will guide us, as always. Help us to satisfy the needs of our residents. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions. Guide us so that we can be productive, effective, and decisive. Let us not be silent, but to use our legislative powers to make laws that will eliminate disparities, racial and social. Help us to continue to be the voice of the voiceless. Teach us the spirit and value of cooperation and compromise. Lord, grant us the gifts of wisdom, justice, counsel, and fortitude that will result in a strong and healthy community. These blessings I ask in your name. Amen.
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 Mr. City Attorney, please present the first item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Might entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is ceremonial items, beginning with ID 9823. Welcome to visiting U.S. Naval Academy midshipmen.
All right, so we've got some Australian midshipmen out here. Thank you, everyone, for indulging me here. We have a great relationship with our Naval Academy. These three mids have been here for nearly 6 months, I think, now, and just want to acknowledge them. You guys know you can always count on the Australians to go into battle with you. We're always there. You don't even have to think about it. So if you guys could come forward to that table, I've got some citations for you here. You guys just want to say your names, if you could. Yeah.
I'm Midshipman Laura Casperson. Midshipman Matilda Roberts.
Midshipman Nathan Woodcock.
Midshipman Kynan Elliott.
Nathan, I'm going to pass that to you. And I'll pass that to you. Thank you. Tilda. Good. So this came out. I'm going to read yours. All right. So these guys go home in a month, something like that. I've told them that this is their first time at City Hall. I told them it gets really busy here, that this council is really popular, but tonight is not such a busy night. But we could at least acknowledge you and say thank you for coming here. We've enjoyed having you here. On behalf of the residents of the City of Annapolis, we are pleased to confer upon you this City Council citation in recognition of your participation in the semester exchange program at the United States Naval Academy. This is the first exchange between the Naval Academy in Annapolis and the Australian Defence Force Academy in Canberra. After arriving in January, you worked alongside other midshipmen, first class, completely integrating into the brigade. You're outstanding recruits in representing your country. In exchange, our mids learned a lot about Australia, a strategic alliance that is very important to the US interests abroad. We thank you for participating in this key program, and we welcome you back to Annapolis and America anytime. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Cheers. Cheers. Awesome. If you want to just line up in the middle, I'll get in the middle that you're here. Get a picture of you. That's great. Like an Australian barbecue, girls on one side, blokes on the other side. Awesome.
My hometown too.
There you go, Canberra girl right there. Do one of you want to say a couple of words? Who's the talker? You know, just the basic. We love Annapolis.
I'd like to just thank you all for the honour and for having us. We've had a truly outstanding time, and we just want to thank you for your hospitality and for this. So thank you so much.
And if you could just come up and tell us about the international exchange program we do here at the Academy, into that one. Yeah.
Well, good evening. My name is Tim Disher. I'm the Director of International Programs at the Naval Academy, and it's my privilege and honor to be able to work at the United States Naval Academy. The goal is to send 500 midshipmen abroad a year, including a semester exchange. We have Australia is one of 13 countries that we actually have relationships with. So if you were to walk around the Naval Academy today, you would see Australians, Israelis, and Singaporeans that are here for the semester, this semester, and the other 10 countries normally come in the fall. That's in addition to the 4-year international midshipmen that we have. We've been trying since 2018, and finally we're successful with the Australian Defence Force Academy, and they sent us their very best students. It's a tri-service academy, so the folks that graduate from there go into their Army, into their Air Force, and into their Navy. And the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy, this year is the first year that we were very lucky to send students there, and then also to have students out at Colorado Springs and here in Annapolis. Very proud of the young men and women that are here, and the goal is that they're part of the brigade right now, and they know that they're always welcome to come home, and and they know that Annapolis is one of the places that they'll always feel comfortable coming back to, and that's the goal over the course of their career. So thank you very much for this recognition, sir, and thank you all for your leadership.
She said first class, so they're seniors.
Oh my gosh, they look like babies. That makes sense. They look so young.
21-year-old.
They're so funny. I didn't hear the accent at first.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know. Great.
Thank you. Have a good
We
night.
scoffed down some sushi earlier on.
What's he doing?
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with update from the mayor.
Thank you. I want to share some sad news. On Friday, a number of us attended a funeral service for Barry Booth Senior. Barry was a long-time employee of our Department of Recreation and Parks. He started his career with the city more than 20 years ago as a maintenance worker at Recs and Parks, and that job led him into the career that he was passionate about. Barry was a coach, a recreation and parks leader, an expert Easter egg hider, a mentor, a colleague, and a friend to anyone who he met. Barry was unexpectedly called home a week ago, Saturday. He will be greatly missed. So let's take a moment to remember Barry as he was coaching basketball and helping our young people in our community be their best selves. If we could take just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I was pleased to attend a press conference this morning to mark May as official Maryland Travel and Tourism Month, alongside Maryland Commerce Secretary Kevin Anderson, County Executive Stuart Pittman, and Kristen Peronis of Visit Annapolis, and others, as well as individuals from the state who were recognized for their contributions to creating inviting events, festivals, and tours to attract tourists and travelers to Maryland and to Annapolis. The Annapolis economy depends on tourism dollars. Today was a wonderful opportunity to acknowledge the people in our community who do the heavy lifting so that Annapolis can be an attractive destination. Speaking of big events that bring tourists, I want to congratulate our students from St. John who will be graduating on May 14th, and our midshipmen who will be commissioned later this month. As you all know, Commissioning Week in Annapolis is a big deal. The Blue Angels come to town, families are here to celebrate, and on Friday the 26th, the young men and women will be commissioned as naval and marine officers. Let's get a round of applause for our two great universities. Coming this Saturday at the Pitmoy Rec Centre is the annual Springtime Community Rummage Sale, where you can make someone else's trash your treasure. The fun starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday, May 13th at the Pitmoy Rec Centre, that is on Hilltop Lane. Last week we had some great events and celebrations. I'd like to mention a few. On Tuesday, we celebrated the grand opening of CRAB, that is our Chesapeake Regional Accessible Boating Centre on Bemby Beach Road in Ward 7. It is a world-class facility, and it is right here in Annapolis, and it is long overdue. We are a town with wounded warriors and many seniors, and this is going to give a chance for people to get on the water and really enjoy one of the things that makes this city so special. On Friday, we celebrated the opening of a new Department of Public Works building on Hudson Street in Ward 3 with a ribbon cutting. And it is an amazing building. If you want to come and tour, please come by and look at what they've done. On Saturday, we conducted a community cleanup behind Town Courts Apartments on West Street. I want to thank Alderman Pindell Charles and all of our volunteers for rolling up their sleeves to help with the beautification effort. And also on Saturday, the city worked with non-profits and vendors and Maryland Hall to host Taco Fest, which was a huge success. Lines around the taco trucks were crazy because only 2 taco trucks showed up, and there should have been 8. So people that said they were going to be there didn't come, but everybody had a great time. They had dancing horses, mechanical balls, music, great food. It was a fantastic energy. I want to thank Laura for the great job that she did on that. I got to be a taco taste tester, and I'd have to say it's definitely one of the perks of the job. Not so good, though, when everybody's looking at you and they haven't got a taco yet. So I want to thank everyone who was involved in that effort to celebrate our beautiful city and bring some amazing diversity to Maryland Hall. Last month, Annapolis Police Chief Jackson announced the Anne Arundel State's Attorney's Office held an award ceremony and luncheon in recognition of National Crime Victims' Rights Week, where Annapolis detective Aaron Stein was presented with the 22nd Annual Warren B. Duckett Jr. Memorial Commitment to Justice Award. I thank Detective Stein for his work on behalf of the residents of Annapolis, and I'm so pleased that our team is being recognized for the outstanding work they are doing. Let's all give Detective Stein a round of applause. And lastly, of course, I want to give a big shout out to all the mums out there. Mother's Day is on Sunday, and I hope you all enjoy beautiful celebrations with your family. I'm going to say Happy Mother's Day to my amazing wife, who is an amazing mum. We got some amazing mums over here. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And Alderman Finlayson was mum to about 1 billion kids when she was a teacher, so Happy Mother's Day to you too. And a big round of applause for our mums. We love our mums, right? Now let's get on with the meeting. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item.
Yes, sir. The next item is reports by committee.
Alderman Tierney.
No one else? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first want to say the Finance Committee, we met 4/17 through 5/4, and we passed several pieces of legislation that I just want to put on the record. We recommended favorably SA 25-23, SA 26-23, SA 27-23, SA 28-23, SA 29-23, and we also gave a favorable recommendation to the fiscal year 2024 fee schedule, R21-23, and a favorable recommendation, R22-23, to the fine schedule, and a favorable recommendation to R23-23, the fiscal year 24 position classification and pay plan. So along with that, we reviewed presentations and deliberated, so I have a report to go over. What I'd like is for you to follow me. It is attached to Legistar under the ID items. It's a 22-page report, and I am going to reference page numbers, and I'll try not to have you jump around here, but so anyways, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank my colleagues on the committee, Alderwoman Finlayson and Alderwoman O'Neill, for their collective efforts on this report, and of course, the support of the Finance Department and the attendees at all of our meetings these last 3 weeks. Special thanks to Alderman Gay and Alderwoman Pindell Charles for finding the time to attend. And lastly, Kaylin for her administrative support throughout the process. and those that I neglected to mention, thank you. During those weeks, we watched 14 department presentations as well as presentations on our debt capacity by Davenport and our enterprise funds by Stantec. We called several departments back, APD, the Mayor's Office, Human Resources, and Office of Community Services for additional questions that we had. We appreciate Director Tricia Hopkins, who's here tonight, for answering our questions on job classifications. And special thanks to all of the departments by limiting their presentations to 45 minutes to allow for questions and to keep on a schedule. The segmented schedule this year was suggested by my colleague Alderwoman O'Neill so that the staff could plan ahead for their scheduled slot. I'd like to briefly walk you through the report tonight and hope, though, that you still read through it. We've kept it short for that reason, as we know you also have 200 plus pages of budget material before you. Therefore, we think of our report as an executive summary of the budget, concluding with our recommendations. Pertinent information from the budget was included only for emphasis. So beginning with page 1 and 2, the City Council budget process kicked off this year with a strategic plan session in January. Priorities moving forward were developed, such as smart planning, mobility, excellent services, etc. The goal is to eventually have a strategic plan where the performance measures are measured against. However, unfortunately, we are still in a transition period as departments reported on their existing performance measures, but they eventually need to be updated to a finalized strategic plan. I think at that time, things will make a lot more sense, and there's no possibility of any real subjective decisions because we're all working towards a common goal. So on pages 2 through 6, the overall picture of the budget is summarized for context. The revenue and expenditure pie chart should look familiar, and we pulled them from the Finance Department presentation to us. The one thing that I think is really necessary to say when you look at our proposed revenues and expenditures is that the budget fundamentals these last 5 years have proven beneficial, especially taking us through a pandemic. And that is being I call it and Director Dickinson may not agree with me, but I call it a conservative perspective with regard to both revenues and expenditures. For example, when budgeting from a conservative perspective, revenues are often anticipated either at or only slightly above prior year level. In addition, expenditures are also estimated conservatively. As a result, over the last few years, this has resulted in notable increases in actual fund reserves when compared to budgeted or projected fund reserves. These differences have helped the city build and grow and maintain adequate reserves in all funds so that we can continue to provide services as well as support our expanding capital budget program. This reserve calculation is found on pages 4 and 5. Revenue sources have somewhat expanded due to hotel tax and building permits, but we do need to do more. One of the positive things I saw is that there was a 5% reduction in relying on just property tax in revenues. In other words, other alternate sources of revenues are coming into play. But there will be challenges facing us. We have stretched out ARPA funds over 3 years, but it will end in fiscal year 25. So I bring attention to a very important chart on page 5 that our new deputy director helped graph for us. You can blow it up so you can see the numbers, but as I said, we've stretched out the ARPA, which is in yellow, the ARPA funds, and it shows the ARPA funding zeroing out around fiscal year 2025. And this is based just on a conservative straight line projection with really no changes. We can see the structural deficit expand, and those are the numbers in red, and those are quite significant. growing all the way up to, 7.9 million in the year, fiscal year 2027. But moving forward, as stated on, if you go back to page 3, one of the slides that Director Dickinson presented, property reassessment will be completed for fiscal year 25. That might bring in some good news, but at the same time, we must also review the structure of our fees and ensure the assessment and collection of fines and enforcement of occupancy taxes. So, having that context, on pages 6 through 20, we include our department reviews. The departments were given a rubric developed by Alderwoman Finlayson, which asked for performance measures, requests and changes from last year, as well as enhancements. We evaluated whether their budget met performance measures, and if not, why it didn't. And for some departments, this meant looking at non-funded enhancements. We expand on this in several departments, and I will summarize all of our recommendations at the end of the report. But before I get to those, I want to talk about the capital budget. Again, having healthy reserves, we're able to expand the listing of our projects. And the public has to know how important this is. I mean, we have aging infrastructure, and you can see all the construction going on. And but the concern was that with this expansion was the management of not only the existing projects, but the new projects, and if we had the bandwidth to do so. Director Jarrell was kind enough to respond to me and my questions in an email, and instead of trying to summarize it, I actually included his response in our report because he went through the trouble of listing every project that would be started in fiscal year 24, and then how he was going to address the existing projects. There's a basic approach here that on the new projects that we added for fiscal year 24, he allocated just time to estimate and plan the project so that there would be an estimate, and he would then smartly know how to include operational costs as we move forward. But it was very reassuring to know that, we've got a very, able DPW department that's ready to tackle this list. So at your leisure, I really recommend that you read pages 13 through 15, itemizing all of these projects. But one other really important point on the capital improvement budget is a substantial increase of grant funding versus utilizing capital reserve and bonds. And Miss Katie Connolly helped me chart those. I love pie charts. And you can see this is very remarkable that between fiscal year 23 and 24, the reduction of, the addition, you can see it in the blue, is grants. And grants are good. I think we can say thank you to the mayor for getting some of those and his orchestrating the effort with other departments. So I thought that was worth showing in a graph form on page 13. Community grants is next, and that the grant committee, as last year, was composed of 6. And they presented to us, we actually called them back for a day to talk more. Oh no, the Office of Community Services we called back, but we spent a lot of time with them and they gave us their recommendations. But the most important part of their process was actually the process itself. They were challenged with how to give everybody something, and that everybody meant existing as well as new. So they voted among themselves unanimously on this process that was very equitable. I remember Alderman Gay was very happy with that presentation because of the equitable priority on it and their knowledge, et cetera. So the committee, with a vote of 2 to 3, recommended their recommendations, but I thought it was really important that you read pages 16 and on to 17 about their process and how they addressed existing recipients versus the new recipients. And we also included the list of the grants. It's only $348,000, and hopefully next time we'll have more money. And lastly, we speak of the enterprise funds on page 20, and there was incredible coordination between DPW and Stantec Consultants as far as what that operational cost was in sewer, water, the watershed restoration projects, and solid waste. And inflation was applied, et cetera. That was probably the biggest reason for this increase that resulted in a 3% increase in sewer rates, and I have them listed here. But the solid waste increasing 10%, for example, would change a bill from $324 to $356. Again, reflection of our aging infrastructure and all of the work that's going into this, and then the limited, the limited space we have to implement these watershed restoration projects so that they become a little bit more costly. So at this time, I'd like to just very quickly go over our recommendations. And just the process here, they will, as applicable, they'll be rolled into amendments, which will be finalized by next week. And then, of course, they're all subject to City Council approval. So I start off with general. And one of the things that we were frustrated about is what happened to our previous amendments. So we asked that amendment budget allocations made in the budget shall be tracked or coded or what have you, so that they may be reported on, perhaps with budget updates. I know we get quarterly updates. I don't expect we'd have to have them quarterly, but just to see, not wait until the next budget to see that the money went back into the general fund or something. And second, of course, is that the City Council, in considering amendments and all, that we conserve expenses, specifically on reoccurring expenses, to address this loss of ARPA funds, in spite of the additional revenue sources that we identified this fiscal year. So otherwise, we will have that gap. And then I give an example in number 3, which is a recommendation to evaluate the increase of the hotel tax. Just to give you parameters there, if we increased it with the existing licenses, a 1% increase would generate about $468,000. So we definitely, the Finance Department, Director Dickinson spoke of really optimizing this effort in increasing the identification of non-complying rental units and stepping up enforcement. The mayor's office was a little challenging because again, we were very focused on performance measures and meeting job classifications. So at this time, there was an added contract part-time position for a PIO support, and we requested that the mayor instead, the mayor's office, reallocate the duties so as not to have to add another reoccurring expense, and work with other departments. And then we also anticipate that we have added additional administrative staff in the CM office, and that will free up the existing administrative staff to perhaps help with some of those administrative duties. OEM, there we have in the report, we have the chart of their success in their opioid program, their substance use disorder program, that the overdoses have significantly come down. This is the approach we took last year, that we want to keep the program going and funded. So we're asking to fund the $147,000 needed. And if the grants are secured, then that would offset the general fund costs. I do want to call attention to that chart that's on page 8 of 22, where you can see the reduction in the overdoses, and that's perfect example of meeting performance measures and keeping something going. Based on performance measures not meeting some of them, the Finance Committee, on a vote 2-1, recommended funding the emergency planner position, and we will bring it to the full council for discussion. We also support number 7. We recommend waiting for the comp rate study that, because of recent discussion and I believe a resolution on the floor tonight, we hope that will prioritize, we're told that it will prioritize the deputy position, the deputy director position, as maybe in time before the budget is approved, and then continue on to the other to the other rate studies. And thank you, Tricia Hopkins, for expediting the award of that study. In 8, regarding the transportation fund, as you know, we have a different structure with the public-private partnership, and we get, again, estimated conservatively. But we don't want any surprises, so all we're asking there is that the Finance Committee get a quarterly or update on the, once Hillman is open and operational costs are deducted, what that waterfall revenue is predicted to be. That would be helpful because we want to make sure that our transportation fund is not jeopardized. This one is really important. I know that FAC wrote about it in their, wrote about the need for something like this, ironically, in their report that they submitted to the council today on the budget. But Alderman Schottlemeier initiated this. And this is a big deal because it will reevaluate our land use so that we know if we are optimizing, or the way I have it written is accurate. This effort is integral in reevaluating our resources, taxable and non-taxable, and land use that will assist in optimizing our property tax revenue. Again, 60% of our revenue is from property tax, and we want to make sure in the comp plan, whether we have dense, commercial versus residential, all of that will be studied, and the contract has been awarded, I understand it, to Urban 3, and I just think that this is something that we really need to elevate and get a report on and keep it going, because that's a really, really important effort. Okay, the police department, the crossing guards didn't really get the benefit of the ladder raise last year, so we really support funding the crossing guards, increasing their hourly pay to $20 an hour, and we'll get verification on what that dollar value is from the finance department. Another one that was overlooked in the police department was this increase in salary for the IT project manager. That was not, that was, for lack of a better word, missed in last year's raises. And so the last but not least is the Office of Community Services. We met with them, and our goal there when we met with them, and we're so impressed with their efforts, is just let's keep this going. And they have been struggling with making sure that they're keeping, their interns and grants and everything. And we just said, look, what do we need to just keep this going this year for fiscal year 24? So we recommend funding the Hispanic Outreach Navigator position for $44,300, which is currently in grants. And then 2 part-time temporary rental assistant and community service support staff. Because of Alderman Gay's legislation, we're getting this money and we need we need to allocate it, and those positions are critical. So again, similar to the OEM grant, this funding will be placed in non-allocated finance, and then we anticipate the grant, and then we will deal with that when we get it. So that was it. Thank you for your time tonight, and it's a privilege to work on this. And again, thank you to my colleagues for the hard work that we all put in.
Thank you. Anybody else with reports? Alderman Schneidermeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Economic Matters Committee met on April 19th. We received an update from Stephen Rice regarding economic development. And then we had a presentation from Eric Lashinsky, Chief of Comprehensive Planning, on the comp plan and its impact on economic development in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gay.
Thanks. The Housing and Human Welfare Committee meets May the 15th, catching up on the last 2 months we missed, so thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Finlayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules and City Government Committee, normally scheduled for the first Friday of the month, has been moved to the 19th of May at 1 o'clock here in Council Chambers. Thank you.
Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Safety Standing Committee meeting is scheduled for May the 16th, 2023, here in Council Chambers at 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you all. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is comments by the general public.
During comments by the general public, the public may not speak on items scheduled for public hearing. They will be heard later. So if you are here to comment on the annual budget and appropriation property tax levy, there'll be a public hearing on that later in the evening. On administration requiring city managers to provide staffing impact statements on pending legislation. And then R 2123, fee 2024 fee schedule, 2323 position classification pay plan, and the fines schedule. All of those have their own individual public hearings. But if you're here to speak on anything else, please come forward. The first people signed up to speak are some frequent flyers. Curtis Jones, please come forward.
All right in the middle. Got it. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Curtis Jones, and I live at 1400 Breton View Road, Annapolis, Maryland, 21409. Again, I say for those that don't know, I don't live in a city, I live in a county. I make that point for a reason, because I've come here again to speak about the Willows Project and the Commission on Planning and Zoning. This past week, I attended a meeting, and like I said, the week prior, don't move the goal line. And that's just what happened. They moved that goal line again, where they could have had a vote on this project. They brought up other items that they wanted to have, such as, let's move it back, set back farther. Let's take away parking spots. Oh, what if someone wants to park at the Legion and leave their car there for a year because he's a military person about to be transferred out to go overseas? And all these bogus statements they're making, the what if factor. And my response to what if someone wants to leave a car parked there? A military person of any rank, any way, would not leave his car in an open parking lot. The government provides facilities for that. So that idiotic question should have never been brought up. And as a security specialist in my past life, adding a 20-foot more setback is not going to do anything but destroy the other side of the complex. And when they're talking about the trees that are going to come down, that have nothing to do with the project instead of what's Providence Point. They're lashing out because they didn't do due diligence during the Providence Point project where the judge spanked their hands. So I say again, it's up to you guys here in this room that control them to control them, make them do their job. Make them stick to the code and not what they like. Or, well, my grandkids or my children wouldn't want to live there. That's bogus. Their job is to make sure things are done by the code, not by their personalities. You have a problem. And that problem is going to consider to be there until you put your feet down and demand they do their job according to the law and the code of this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Commission are independent of the City Council.
Tara Stout, 1118 August Drive. I'm sure we all played board games as kids. From Candyland to Monopoly, we were taught that changing the rules is cheating. Development is like a game of Monopoly, but the city never learned that you can't arbitrarily change the rules. Lawsuits don't deter the city because whenever they need money, they draw that card, enabling them to collect taxes from every resident. The Willows got into this game of Monopoly with the city 3 years ago, presented a concept plan, incorporated city feedback into redesigns, but every time we roll the dice, we land in what Monopoly calls jail. And trust me, we aren't getting out for free. We've given up 85 feet across the rear of the property for Skipper's Lane, conceded to an easement on about 3/4 of an acre because the city made a mistake 30 years ago and forgot to record it, and provided a 20-foot building setback from Forest Drive, although none is required. The city's had those plans since November. Planning Commission is like the referee of the game. They mediate between the city, the applicant, and the public to make sure everybody plays by the rules, and they try to build consensus. The city is the only player that gets to decide if and when the commission sees a project. People are more apt to vocalize opposition than support, so it's really a thankless role, and they devote countless hours, so I'd actually like to thank them for their efforts. From my perspective, it was a productive and overall good meeting on the 4th until the city led the commission down another rabbit hole of redesign to increase the setback from Forest Drive and add more sidewalk connections because people are, quote, lazy and they might walk across the grass. Although we believe these requests take away from functionality for residents by eating away at green and usable space, congratulations, you've bullied the developer into submission because housing is the goal and the city's process has officially put this project in jeopardy. On the bright side, when the commission and the city reviewed Parole Place, they touted it as one that empty nesters like themselves could see their kids living in. Some grandparents in multi-generational households at Riders Glen were hoping to become empty nesters because their adult children could afford to live in the Willows. Imagine that. It doesn't matter what rent you can afford along the Monopoly board, we all want the same thing, quality housing for our children. The public feedback we get is a growing list of people who want to live at the Willows, but last week residents shared that they've lost all hope with the city when it comes to the city because it's been 2 years since our first community meeting. It's up to the mayor now to lead. You need to direct planning and Mr. Smith to stop this nonsense so the volunteers on Planning Commission have consensus from the applicant, the city, and the public and are in a position to approve this project on May 18th. You proudly told me you rallied commission members, the public, and the staff to support Providence Point, so please do the same for the Willows. And approval on May 18th can do more than move the Willows forward. It may give the community back some hope in all of you. Thank you.
Alderman Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is not a question, actually just a statement. I will find out offline, but what is the deal here? Obviously, as you just stated, the Planning Commission is separate from the City Council. We have no, outside of just appointing the members, really no authority over the council. It's a separate body. They have their own rules. I think part of it was even established by the state code, and so there's really not much we can do. But what leverage do we have to say, hey, the council, the mayor have made it extremely clear that we would like to see development of affordable housing within the city. And by definition, we've made that workforce housing. And it seems like at every chance we get to propose some sort of workforce housing, we stumble into these issues, and this has been going on for at least a year now. So do we have any leverage or authority that we could use to say, hi, Planning Commission, this is the will of the city, not the will of if your grandkids would like to live there or not? I mean, and they've been saying that since last year. Obviously, there was an entire write-up in the newspaper about some of the comments that they made, and some of them reeked of both racial and social undertones, and so negative undertones. And so what can we do?
So I can set up a separate meeting with you with the Acting Director, Tom Smith, and we all want to get this finished. So
because I think you still have a shovel in the date deadline.
I was just going to say, if I could just say on the record that I actually thought Planning Commission's process was significantly improved on Thursday night. We went down the rabbit hole because of the city's planning department consistently wanting to redesign this project.
I don't want to hear from you. Thank you. You've already made your 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay. Mr. City Attorney, please present. Oh, sorry. Next up is Peter Frederick.
100 Westgate Circle, and good evening all. Almost 400 years ago, Maryland helped to pioneer the idea of religious freedom, making this region a safe haven for diversity of practice, a place where we can live free from religious persecution. This stands in contrast to many other areas of the world. Over the past week, for example, violence erupted in the Indian state of Manipur. Mobs attacked Indian Christians, several churches were burned, and multiple people were murdered. By a percentage basis, Maryland has been, perhaps still is, in the top 5 American states, which is home to large Indian American populations. Now, around 46% of Indian Americans are from Indian minority backgrounds, such as Christians, Buddhists, Sikhs, Muslims, non-religious, or others. In other words, this state is home to a massive number of people who are originally from the minority communities which are currently being persecuted in India. And what's happening in India right now, it's nothing new as far as recent events. For instance, about 6 months ago, churches in the Indian state of Chhattisgarh were also attacked, Christians beaten, and thousands made homeless. These are just the latest incidents in a very long and growing trend of anti-minority violence, particularly against Indian Christians and Muslims over the last decade, all of it spearheaded by branches of a paramilitary called the RSS and tolerated or sanctioned by the RSS's political wing, India's nationally ruling BJP. Aside from the general humanitarian concern and Maryland's history of defending religious freedom, all of this anti-minority violence in India also impacts us very specifically in the US and Maryland and in Annapolis for another reason. That RSS BJP regime in India has corollary organizations here in America whose leaders not only helped to put it into power in India, but whose leaders also have a long track record of reaching out to and funding some of our American politicians, even here in Maryland. The corollaries of the RSS BJP include outfits like the HSS and the OFBJP. When it comes to Maryland politicians, for instance, such groups or their leaders have platform-funded and campaigned for politicians like Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller, who, since her election, now helps administrate this state's government right here in Annapolis. Aruna Miller's links to these groups have been extensively reported by outlets like The Intercept and the Huffington Post. Meanwhile, as anti-minority violence expands in India, we now also have, as of late last year, groups within the same ecosystem openly fundraising in America to support demolition of churches in India. In context of this, my open questions to the Annapolis City Council are, where do you stand on the rising tide of religious extremism in India? And have any of you or the city ever associated with American leaders or outfits which support it? And what about Aruna Miller, as she is unapologetically pocketing funds from Hindu nationalist donors in these outfits? Will you not only refuse to do the same, but will you also call her out for doing it? And I thank you, and I have an information packet for every member of the council about this issue.
Thank you. Next up, Stephen Funk.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Captain Stephen Funk. I am President and CEO of Chesapeake Nautical Cruises. We are a local family-owned business. We've been in business since March of 2005, and we are in our 19th season offering private charters and public cruises in the Annapolis area. In addition to charters and cruises, we do yacht services and management, captain services, yacht sales. And we were recently offered the Bertus Dock commercial lease, and we currently own a U.S. Coast Guard certified 12-passenger vessel named Annapolis Jet Boat to provide 40 to 45-minute leisurely tours of the Annapolis Harbor, U.S. Naval Academy, Severn River, Chesapeake Bay, and tributaries, and no alcohol would be permitted on board either. Also, we have a U.S. Coast Guard certified 85-passenger vessel named the Sea Spirit, providing private charters such as birthdays, weddings, receptions, corporate events, church groups, tours, and we have an excellent safety record. Since 2006, the Sea Spirit has held a Class E liquor license. We also offer public cruises such as St. Patrick's Day, Blue Angels Show, 4th of July fireworks, Eastport Yacht Club's Lights Parade, New Year's Eve cruise, etc. We would like to continue providing cruises out of the Bertus House dock, as well as partnering with local restaurants to provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner cruises. We are interested in providing more public and tourism cruises in the area. Cruises down the Severn River to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, Thomas Point Lighthouse, to local waterfront restaurants, marinas, and towns on the Chesapeake Bay. We are also exploring opportunities to provide a passenger ferry service to local cities and towns such as Annapolis, Baltimore, Rock Hall, Kent Island, St. Michael's, Galesville, etc. We had met with Walt Petrie, owner of Bay Bridge Marina, regarding interest in providing cruises, sunset cruises, and transportation to and from Annapolis, Bay Bridge Marina, Libby's Restaurant, and Kent Island. We also met with Visit Annapolis Executive Director Kristen Peronis and Queen Anne's County Economic and Tourism Development Director Heather Tonelli regarding interest in providing entertainment, tourism, and transportation cruises to restaurants and towns on the Chesapeake Bay. We were contacted by Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum Group Services Coordinator Rachel Brandenburg in St. Michael's to partner with us on tourism cruises from Annapolis to St. Michael's. We look forward to increasing entertainment, tourism, transportation, and water access to local residents and tourists to enjoy our beautiful waterways of the Chesapeake Bay and to support maritime industry. Thank you for your time and consideration in the Bertus Dock lease.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. Next up, Nicole Gress. Anybody else? Might have been the lady that just left. Okay, would anyone else like to come forward and speak? Thank you. I declare the public hearing closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent calendar.
Any
Motion to approve.
objections to the
Second.
consent? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney? Aye. Alderwoman O'Neill? Aye. Alderman Pendle Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson? Aye. Alderman Shannemeyer?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Thanks.
City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is business and miscellaneous supplemental appropriations of $50,000 or more, SA 20, beginning with SA 2923.
Is there a motion to approve SA 29-23?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, if I could.
Alderman Gay?
Yeah, just quickly. I'm not sure if everybody has been attending or following, but this is actually from the CNI grant. And as it mentions, it's just an early investment into the project. It'll be at the intersection of Madison and President. I think at this point they are proposing a colored crosswalk, which may hopefully change to something more long-standing and that the residents could actually use. But this is from that, and Eric Lashinsky is doing a great job with that, so thanks.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is public hearings, beginning with 01423 annual budget and appropriation and property tax levy.
Anybody signed up? Would anybody like to come forward and speak on O-14-23? We will leave the public hearing open to the next session. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Public hearings continued. The next item is 01723 administration, requiring the city manager to provide staffing impact statements on pending legislation.
Would anyone like to come forward and speak on O-17-23? Thank you. I declare the public hearing closed on O-17-23. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is R21, resolution R2123, FY 2024 fees and schedule. Fee schedule.
Anybody like to come forward and speak on R-21-23? Okay, I declare the public hearing on R-21-23 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is R2223, FY 2024 fines schedule.
Okay, we have some people signed up to speak. Nope, they all left. That's not them. We just have Nicole again. I think that she has left the building. Yep, thank you. I declare the public hearing on R-22-23 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is R2323, FY 2024 position classifications and pay plan.
Anyone like to come forward and speak on R-23-23? Thank you. I declare the public hearing closed on R-23-23. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is legislative actions on first reader, beginning with Charter Amendment CA 223, change of name for Management Information and Technology Office.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Let's refer CA-2-23 to Rules of City Government Committee. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Continuing on first reader, ordinance 01823, Management Information Technology Office name change.
Could I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Why does it
Omega.
need a charter amendment and a resolution? I mean, I'm sorry, and an ordinance?
Because the, to change the name of the department is in the charter, and you have to make the code that's associated with the department changes.
Thank you so much. I just didn't know.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. I refer O-18-23 to Rules and City Government Committee. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is 01923, property tax credits for 911 specialists and public safety officers.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
I want to refer it to the Rules Committee, please.
Okay. So it will be referred to Rules and also Finance Committee and Public Safety Committee. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh.
I want to thank Alderman Gay for this ordinance. I know there are going to be several questions elicited from this, but thank you, Alderman Gay.
No problem. Thank you.
All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is O 2023 Chesapeake Nautical Cruises LLC lease.
So moved.
Can I get a second on first reader, please?
Second.
Second. Okay. Alderman Gay, second or hand up? Sorry.
I was seconding, but I had a question as well.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Rob can.
You want to go Alderman Savage first?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, just want to refer to Maritime Advisory Board.
Sure.
And then I guess might be a question for the city manager regarding, at some point, could we perhaps get a presentation from, and maybe we could do this in committee, but presentation from the harbor master as far as an overview of, I'd like to know more about the Burtis dock and these spaces that we're renting, total number, and how we're going through the process, and what we have approved so far, and maybe some of the criteria she may be looking at when recommending these leases. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gay, then Alderman Tierney.
Thanks. I just quickly, is the $12,375, which it says can be paid in monthly monthly installments of $3,093, is that from the fee schedule that the council's passed last year? Is that where she's coming up with the rent, or is that just based off of something
I
else?
think maybe the finance director can answer that. No. Nope. Or the city manager. All right.
He can't either. Mr. Mayor, the deputy city manager is here in her outer office, which she was here for this particular item. Do you want me to bring her back or have her just respond when?
You can just email me, honestly.
Yeah, what we can do, she was here to listen on this and was prepared to respond to any questions, knowing that there were some questions about procedure.
All right, here we go.
There she is.
Here she is.
You could come up. We got some further stock questions for you, please. And remembering these are all a pilot. We are trying this out on the new real estate that we own. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Gay, if you want to pose a
Thank
question.
you. Sorry, my question was with it's under rent, it's $12,375.32, and then it can be broken up to payments of $3,000. Was that based off of the fine and fee schedule that we create, or is that separate,
Jackie Guile, Deputy City Manager for Resilience and Sustainability. So no, it's not based off of the fine and fee schedule. That figure is arrived at by, the harbor master calculated it by what is fair market value for the dock space. And she did that basically using the weeks that we had last year at Burtis Dock. Now, we didn't have a full season yet at Burtis Dock because that was all new to us. So she used the $30,000 we had during that period and calculated what market rate would be, a fair market rate. So this vessel will be there for May, June, and July for 2-week periods of each month, not a full month each. They have just 2 weeks because these are all pilot leases. The city is trying these leases out to see how they work, if they work for the city, and if they work for the lessees.
Awesome, thanks. And then my last question, considering the city is leasing it out, and we've made attempts to be consistent with water access, are you barred from including language within the lease that maybe will require some sort of community service program or partnership? I'm not seeing any mention of that, and I think it's just, again, an opportunity to provide water access in a different way. Is that something that you'd be open to, or the harbor master will be open to?
That's a policy decision for the city to make. That's not something that we include in our leases at present. We do not require that sort of service from our lessees. We have not discussed that.
And so if we were to amend the ordinance 2023 to include that, is that how that could possibly work, Mr. City Attorney?
Sure. You could put it, we could put it in. Doesn't mean that they'll accept it.
Yeah, but just
And we
something.
haven't required that of the other two leases that have been approved by city council.
I just think, I mean, it's a water city. Again, we talk about the access that we have to the existing shorelines and, you know, just possible ways to get people in the water. I know we are doing a lot of look and see projects, but again, you know, me looking at water from city dock is not water access, but me getting on a boat is, and being able to experience the beauty of the Chesapeake Bay is water access. And we both know of the economic hardship that some families face and that, you know, stop them from being able to take place in that. And so just something to think of, and I talk to you offline about it as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Alderman Tierney?
Yes, just two questions for clarity. This might be directed to our legislative analysts. The bill's summary says that it is it's an extension of an existing lease. Is that correct? And the boat, as described, is not what I believe the gentleman just talked about. Do you know what I'm saying there? Is it an extension of an existing lease?
It is not.
No, okay.
No. And this is a lease
I'm
that
sorry,
the legislative summary.
on the spot, sorry.
The legislative summary describes the Sea Spirit, which is the larger 60-foot vessel, but this lease also covers the smaller boat called the Annapolis Jet Boat, and it is an 18.5-foot boat that can accommodate 11 passengers plus the captain.
Okay.
So the space is for 79 feet because of the length of the two vessels with some space in between.
I'm looking at the lease. Where in the lease does it say that it is a pilot duration, or however we want to address a pilot?
Oh, let's see. I believe was it good? I believe that we do include that language in here. I'm looking for it at the moment, unless it's. Oh, here it's in the ordinance in the second whereas clause, where it says the tenant desires to lease certain portions of the city dock as a pilot lease.
In the ordinance, but not in the lease?
Do not see it in the lease itself.
Okay, thank you. I know it's only on first reader, so.
I don't think so.
Thank you for that.
Any more? Okay, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now can we refer that to the Finance Committee, Environments Committee, and who else wanted it in their committee? Environment, okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Resolution R 2823 on first reader, reclassifying the Deputy Director of Emergency Management.
So a motion to adopt R-28-23 on first reader.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Alderman Pendell-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to belabor R 2823 tonight. I think there's been plenty of discussion, and I'll start with saying I personally feel like I'd be derelict in my duties as a public safety chair if I did not put forth this resolution. Number two, when I first heard about this, I was the one who broached it, and we're not going to go through all the conversations, but I was always promoting this grade. And so I don't know, there may have been some confusion, I don't know why, but I know that's what I have always promoted. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I think we've had plenty of discussion on this, but thank you.
Okay, lots of discussion to be had. All those in favour of it on first reader, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
On first reader?
Call the roll.
No?
Call the roll.
I think the majority has it, yeah.
Ms. Regina has it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item agenda.
That ends the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Is there anything else for good order?
Mr. Mayor, yes, there's one announcement, and I'm going to get it wrong, but Alderwoman and I joined the governor today in signing two pieces of, two bills that are going to greatly enhance the city. One has to do with funding for the tornado, and the other has to do with resilience funding. So it was a pleasure to hang out with our governor and be amongst the others as these bills were being signed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alderwoman Finlayson, for bringing that up. It was a wonderful day.
Right. It's a wonderful governor. All right. Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Could I get a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.